Praised be Jesus Christ, his peace be with you. The refusal of the Swiss to become Muslims by letting minarets be built on their territory is explained by the fact that Islam refuses on principle religious freedom. It's what we read in the Quran, by example, to the Surah 2 verse 193. Fight them relentlessly until they are no more subversive. It means until there is no more of possible occasions to be other thing than Muslim, and their worship is given only to Allah. The Islamization of our societies is so advanced that the Union of Islamic Organizations in France managed to obtain the right to change of religion, an act punishable by the Quran through the death penalty. A mosque, unlike a church, is not really a place of worship, since Muslims have no sacrifice to offer to God. In fact, it is not absolutely necessary to have a place to repeat texts. Everyone can do it at home. While Christians heirs to the religion of Israel and its sacrificial liturgy of the temple offer to God the eternal sacrifice of Jesus, have communion with his body and his blood, something that obviously is not possible at all for one to do at home. A mosque is primarily the place of the government of the Islamic community. It is also the court where justice is dispensed in the name of Sharia. And finally, the headquarters, from where the various phases of the holy war, the jihad, are planned and put into practice. A mosque is automatically transformed into a land of Islam, because the mosques belong to Allah, says the Quran. The mosque has therefore no real function other than to maintain in the heart of Muslims their pride in belonging to the best of communities. Among the infidels, the ulama, the political community that transcends any other affiliation, and where they prepare to submit the whole world to the Sharia, as this is the duty of every Muslim. A former Muslim, Magdi Alam, baptized by Benedict XVI in the March 26, 2008, and then sentenced to death by Islam, wrote, "The Islamic State is based on a vast network of mosques and Quranic schools. Where they preach hatred, they inculcate faith in the so-called martyrdom. They practice brainwashing to transform individuals into fighters for the holy war. Charities and Islamic assistance function in exchange for aid, subjugating minds. One have to be already submitted to refuse to acknowledge Islam for what it is, and to forget our history. Do they remember who they are? Those who think they work for social and civil peace while building mosques. Our minarets are our bayonets. Our cupolas are helmets, our mosques are barracks. And our believers are soldiers." Who said that? The Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan, on December 6, 1997. Shocked? But it is a commonplace of Islam. We can say the same. This extract from the Islamic Declaration, Head of State of Bosnia-Herzegovina, from 1990 to 2000 by Ali Izetbegovic. There can be neither peace nor coexistence between Islamic religion and non-Muslim political and social institutions. The support that a Muslim people actually brings to a regime is directly proportional to the Islamic character of the later. The Islamic revival cannot begin without a religious revolution, but it cannot continue and be successful without political revolution. Our first task must be to gain not the power, but the men we need to be preachers, and then soldiers. The Islamic movement has to take power when its moral and numeric situation is sufficient to enable it to overthrow the un-Islamic government. It is clear. How could anyone believe that the arrival of imams from Saudi Arabia or elsewhere could help immigrants integrate? In this war, which is primarily religious, we just heard the taqiyya, a Muslim principle that legitimizes the fraud, concealment and deception when the interests of Islam depend on it, at full throttle. Thus Sir Dalal Babakar, rector of the Great Mosque of Paris, can assure us, I quote, a minaret has absolutely no connotation, neither political nor related to conquering, or anything like it, and at the same time say, I quote, that Islam is both a religion, a community, a law, and a civilization. It is high time to agree, seeing Islam as it is, and not as we would like to. For the phased plan for Allah's fighters began, and they do not hide their desire for hegemony and religious imperialism. Even if the press wants to see the local demands associated with specific cultures, there will always be reasons to put the bombs. The cruelty of Islamic terrorism is not due to the frustration. It is not caused by alleged inequalities between rich and poor countries, because there is others, poor countries, and that don't to explode of bombs, but by the very teaching of Allah and His Prophet. Islamic terrorism is the Islam's weapon, a tool of struggle for the conquest of territories, which consists in converting, and the democratic system is undoubtedly the best way to spread Islam in Europe. Faced with these minarets, I suggest to resume the ancient prayer of the Angelus for the conversion of Muslims. This is what the Pope Callistus III in 1456, 3 years after the capture of Constantinople by the Turks, has asked, I quote, the whole Church the conversion of Muslims in peace, unquote. This short prayer, a summary of the main tenets of our faith, rejected by Islam, will rhythm and brighten our day, morning, noon, and night, by recalling the annunciation of our salvation